Hello and welcome to the Malika Writes channel. My name is Malika Writes and today I'm going to be talking about rash decision making in the Silmarillion. As someone who has experienced war, Tolkien would have been very familiar with rash decision making and its consequences. In the heat of the moment, it is far too easy to disengage the rational mind and give in to our more impulsive behaviour. The Feanorian oath in the Silmarillion is just one of the many examples of rash decision making, but today we're going to be focusing mainly on a character that isn't spoken about that much. This is Gwindor, one of the princes of Nargothrond. So Nargothrond was previously ruled by Finrod Felagund. It was later ruled by Orodreth, and Gwindor was betrothed to Orodreth's daughter Finduilas, and she comes into the tale of Turin, and so does Gwyndol himself later on. But the first sort of mention that we have of him in extreme importance is his role in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. So Gwyndor's brother Gilmir was captured in the Battle of Sudden Flame, and Gwyndor joined the Union of Maedhros and rode into battle with Fingon in order to avenge his brother. As Gwyndor stood on this hillside in a sort of secret location, he witnessed his brother being mutilated and slaughtered in front of him. This was obviously done by the host of Morgoth to aggravate the host of the elves into battle, and Gwyndor answered the call. He rode off with a small company down the plains of Anfalgleith and charged the ranks of the orcs, making it all the way into the gates of Angband. It was said that Morgoth trembled as the host of Gwindor pounded on his gates. So this is a very mighty figure, and his fall's quite tragic. But this is a very mighty elf. He's one of the princes of Nargothrond, so we get a sense of that power. And also his rank as leading a company, so we get a sense of his responsibility as well. So Gwyndor and his company end up being ambushed. Everyone is slain except Gwyndor himself, and he is taken into captivity to work in the mines of Angband, where his former beauty and strength are basically ruined at that point. So it's very difficult to criticize Gwyndor because he just witnessed his brother being mutilated and slaughtered brutally in front of him by orcs. He came to this battle in order to avenge his brother who had been captured by the orcs previously in the Battle of Sudden Flame. So he was sort of fulfilling his task. In his mind, he was doing the right thing. Unfortunately, when we act rashly, it's not just us that gets caught in our mess. And again, not a lot of people could see their loved one being mutilated and slaughtered and just stand there and say, I'm going to obey the rules and not charge headfirst into battle. So we can't criticize Gwindor in that sense. However, much like real life and definitely within the realm of the Silmarillion, your actions have consequences, and it's not just consequences for him. His entire company was slaughtered in that ambush. So when Tolkien was sort of writing about war, we really get this sense that your decisions are not just going to affect you. In the Silmarillion, a lot of characters make very rash decisions, and it doesn't just affect them. Some of the characters are Feanorians because of their oath, which drives the main plot of the story. So we have Feanor going across the sea to Middle-earth and sort of bringing war to their doorstep, essentially. We have Turin, whose decision to have a bridge built in front of Nargothrond ends up with the sack of the city and basically with the death of Finduilas and Orodreth and Gwyndor himself later on. So we have characters who make certain rash decisions that seem right in the moment but always end up with death. And just to be clear, a lot of things went wrong in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. So Gwyndor's actions alone weren't necessarily the cause of why that battle was such a catastrophe, but it definitely played a part because him charging ahead before they decided to before the elves decided to show their hand definitely had an effect on the battle. Tolkien doesn't assign all the blame to Gwindor, but it definitely does have an effect on why that battle went so badly and why it was so tragic. And one thing I want to point out is that Tolkien doesn't make his characters make rash decisions for no reason. We have a number of characters that have legitimate reasons. Feanor himself didn't just go to Middle-earth for his Silmarils. Tolkien makes a point to repeatedly let us know that Feanor loved his father. He even says, "For what son so held a father in high regard?" You know, so he's making this, he does this several times in the text whenever he refers to Feanor and his father. There is a lot of reference to the fact that Feanor is very close to his father, even a little bit possessive over his father. Remember, he disapproves of his father's second marriage, and this is part of the reason why he doesn't like his half-brothers Fingolfin and Finarfin. So Feanor's grief is what drives him. We see this theme continue in Gwindor. It's his grief that drives him to charge the host of Morgoth. We have other characters in the text that it's not grief. Remember, Tolkien was a brilliant writer. He acknowledged other character types and other archetypes in his story. So we have Celegorm and Curufin, who are just proud, and any slight offense or even non-offense is just met with violence. We have Caranthir, who's just cranky and ready to start a fight whenever with whomever. And we have all three of those things sort of in Turin. So we have grief-stricken, proud, and just cranky, and Turin is just all three of them. So given the fact that every single one of these characters ends up dead, and that's before we even mention everyone else that they killed or indirectly caused the death of in the process, we can clearly see that making rash decisions is just not the way to go. It's impossible to remain stoic all the time. That's not the point. But it's definitely something we should strive for, because your decisions don't just affect you. We live in a society where we follow certain rules in order to protect other people. We conform to the laws that the society has set for us because we know that if we break those laws, we do not just affect ourselves, we affect other people. And we may not ride into war like Gwindor or sail across the sea to Middle-earth like Feanor, but every single day we have the same decisions to make that they did, which is, are we going to act impulsively or are we going to make a wise decision? Any driver knows the very real fear of having someone cut in front of them, because that could cause a really terrible accident, which will result in a very horrific traffic jam. So every single day we make decisions that affect not just ourselves. We can be as individualistic as we like, but we live as a collective. When you decide to beat a red light, you put every single person on the road in danger, from pedestrians to yourself and other drivers. When you make a decision to tell a lie, for example, that doesn't just affect you because the person you've lied to now has the wrong information. All of these things present us with a decision to make, which is, are we going to act impulsively or are we going to make a wise decision? So thank you very much for watching the video. I hope that you enjoyed it and it gave you something to think about. I hope you have a lovely day. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified of when I upload. And yeah, I hope you have a lovely day. This has been the Malika Writes channel.